Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Feeding Hour. In this episode, we welcome Katie McGee, lactation consultant in the NICU and past NICU mom. Katie shares the importance of skin to skin, particularly in the NICU, and how to preserve breastfeeding while in the NICU. Thank you so much, Katie, for sharing your story with us. Enjoy.
Excited for this episode.
Me too.
I'll introduce our guest. So we have Katie McGee with us, and she is an RN, IBCLC, and mom of 5. And I have a personal connection with her. I really feel like she is the reason that I was able to breastfeed my first son. We had a very challenging NICU and tongue tie breastfeeding journey, and she is like the one lactation consultant I saw that like helped me figure out how to get off triple feeding and on to exclusive breastfeeding. So I'm so thankful for you.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. No, you're the reason you were able to breastfeed Chuck for sure. But I'm glad I was able to meet you then and help a little bit.
Yes. Oh my gosh. We can't wait to talk to you about so many things today about, just attachment parenting, your 5 kids and different journeys within that. She's a twin mom as well. So we're so excited.
Yeah. We'd love to start out, Katie, with attachment parenting. You just said Abby's. It was Abby that did it, but you supported her in it. So what was it like going into parenting? Like, did you understand that you wanted to feed with an attachment lens your 5 children? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I grew up kind of knowing that breastfeeding was the way to feed a baby. So my mom had 7 children, my mom and dad. And my mother was really a trailblazer in a time when you look at like the rates of breastfeeding in the 60s and 70s. She really was kind of forging her own path, and she breastfed all of us into toddlerhood. So I have memories of like my younger siblings being breastfed. She also had unmedicated home births, which were with a physician and very planned out. And that was the only way at the time for my dad to be in the room and for her to be unmedicated. Like there was no option to go to the hospital and have those things happen. So I think watching my mother really shaped my beliefs and just desires as a new mom. She instinctually mothered us with attachment parenting before there was really even that label. And I got to reap the benefits of being mothered that way and knew that someday that was going to be for me.
Oh, love to hear that.
Wow. That is so cool to hear, because I have no doubt she was a trailblazer. I saw a video of like a birthing videos in the 50s, and it was like this how-to of a woman in the hospital, and it is barbaric. Like what?
Wouldn't they like strap people down kind of, and like my grandma was talking about like they would numb you all the way down, like you couldn't feel anything.
Yeah, the options were pretty grim. I mean, it was like you experienced everything, but then you didn't remember it. So it's like, yeah, just so unethical and terrible to think about. So she really read every book that was out there and sought out the only physician, in the area who was doing home births. And so it was like natural parenting, and just being responded to was like something my mother did with all 7 of us.
That's amazing. And so how did that play into feeding your own children?
So I guess I'll just start with like my first new mom experience. And that was, I was 25 and I was working as a pediatric nurse. My husband and I found out we were expecting twins. And very quickly, we were so excited. Very quickly into the pregnancy, I developed hyperemesis. So I couldn't keep anything down. I was so sick. And that repeated through all of my pregnancies. But with the twins, I had another really scary complication, which was at 9 weeks, I started hemorrhaging. And so, of course, that early into pregnancy, especially with twins, you think like you're miscarrying. So I was immediately placed on strict bed rest, which is something they truly don't do that much anymore. Oh, hi, sweetheart. And they really don't put people on bed rest too lightly anymore. So I was only 9 weeks and I was completely in bed. Like I was not getting up for anything. And I really think that saved my baby. So at the time I had no internet, no smartphone. I just like laid in bed almost my whole pregnancy. I watched Oprah, I watched all the game shows, I prayed, I just had my door open so family and friends could come visit me. And every morning my husband would pack me a cooler on the bed with like enough food to get me through the day. And he was just incredibly supportive. And at night he had a TV tray next to my bed to eat dinner with me. So we did this for months, and it was only getting up for the occasional doctor's visit. And I never really stopped worrying that I was going to lose them. So every time I'd have like a little hemorrhage, I'd be rushed to the ER and, worry that I was losing them. And we had, because of all these complications, we had dozens of ultrasounds. And we turned away for each one of them because we didn't want to know if they were boys or girls.
Aww.
But during this time of bed rest, I was still so drawn to natural parenting that I started like taking it was like around 24 weeks when I had like light activity. I took a Bradley method class, which is like a natural childbirth class. And I reached out to my local La Leche League leader. And I started reading a lot about, unmedicated delivery. So when I think back, I was like so naive because I was under this high risk team at a major university hospital and I was having such scary complications. But I still was holding on to hope that I could have like an unmedicated birth, that they would stay with me. And these were things I wanted so badly. But then I'd remind myself they may not even live. So it was a very tough time.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's very brave. I mean, it's amazing what women carry when they carry children. The unknown and the not sure, and yet you're still doing it. You still have hope that you can have the babies unmedicated, or
Yeah.
like I just think it's beautiful. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah. And what a way to become a mom too, like your first experience,
Yeah.
and then you're on bed rest all this time to think and read, and like you said, not like all this. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
So at 27 weeks, I had kind of a routine visit with my high risk doctor. And I actually wasn't even supposed to get checked that visit. I was just there, to get measured and talk to him. And I had such a long time in the waiting room. I mentioned to my doctor, every few minutes, I kind of get a stab in the back. And I was so stretched out. I just thought, oh, everything hurts. I don't even know what I'm feeling. And he's like, oh, we better check you. And so this was 27 weeks and I was 3 centimeters dilated and I was in labor and I didn't know it. So I got rushed over to like OB triage and admitted right away. And they started me on magnesium sulfate, which is just such a hard drug to be on. It's like very protective for the preemies' brains, and it helps with stalling labor, along with some other meds I was on. But it just makes you feel so drained, and like I couldn't even open my eyes. So I was on that for 3 weeks. And to me, like when I remember, it kind of feels like 2 or 3 days, it's just, I was so messed up. So at 30 weeks they came then. Yeah.
Wow. So you were in the hospital for 3 weeks on a magnesium sulfate drip. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I'd have like a big run of labor and they'd rush me over to labor and delivery, and then I'd be calmed down for a while and they'd put me back with the antepartum moms. So it was like real grueling. And sometimes, like at some points, my son, who was presenting first, like his bag started bulging. So then they put me upside down, like my legs up and my head. It was just, it was very uncomfortable, but it was like, everything in me was like, they have to stay in. They have to stay in. And at 30 weeks, I was really getting hopeful that I was going to make it to 34 or 35. And I started leaking amniotic fluid. So I got prepped for a C-section. And, you know, their delivery went really nothing how I hoped because, you know, I knew I should be grateful that they were 3 pounds each and they were doing okay. But I just had all these emotions, you know, when it finally ended my pregnancy. And I saw my son for a quick second, and then my daughter, they just had to whisk right to the NICU. And even that, it's like to this day, it hurts that I never saw her until other people saw her and other people had her. And then in the recovery room, I just like missed being pregnant, which I never had with my other deliveries when my baby was like on me. But I just felt like they were just under my heart, and now they're in someone else's hands. So yeah, Abby, like you said, like to become a mom, a first-time mom in the NICU, it's such an unnatural way to become a mother. And when you're an attachment-minded parent, you can't really follow your instincts because everything's out of your control. So it was very tough. When I saw them in the NICU, I really felt like a failure. Like I felt that I had failed them. I couldn't keep them inside me. I cried and cried and cried. And, you know, it wasn't me that was holding them. It wasn't me that was comforting them. I could see that they were in pain. My daughter was on a ventilator for 4 days, and my son was on oxygen delivery called CPAP. So what kind of started turning it all around for me was like later the day that I delivered, Dr. Paula Meyer walked into my room. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with her work, but Paula Meyer had just come to Rush the year before and was starting this what became a world-renowned program. And it was a really cutting edge at the time of bringing the science of human milk into the NICU for the staff and families. And so she actually stayed with me my whole first pumping, and she helped me collect 2 milliliters of colostrum. She put it in 2 different syringes, and she said, I'm going to bring this one to Patrick and this one to Emma. And she explained that it was going to coat their stomachs, protect their GI tracts, and it was just what they needed right then. And this really sparked something in me because I felt, I'm going to do this. This is going to happen. I felt so empowered and just like, here's something that only I can do. At the time, I did not know how special Paula was to the lactation world. I just knew she was special to me. And I looked at the door of the NICU every day, waiting for her to come in during those 6 weeks. And she gave me all the education and support that I needed. And she really changed my life as a new mom. So I think about that often, about like how powerful our presence is and how we can be somebody that a new NICU mom or new mom like never forgets, and we can change the trajectory of thought and emotion and everything. So that's what she did for me.
Oh my gosh, that is so powerful to hear that, because I just feel like I think about that too. That's like why I still work in the hospital settings somewhat, because I'm like, I just feel like if you can help a mom in that moment, like they like need just one person to tell them like you're going to be able to breastfeed. All you have to do is like give them a path. And because so many, the cards are so stacked against you
Yeah.
when you're in that situation. And like you said, you just feel, you might feel like a failure, or just feel like, what can I even do? Like I didn't get to do my skin to skin. I didn't get to do, you feel like so many things are like out of your control and robbed from you, but it's like giving them some little path of like how to get to back on track to what they want, you know?
Yes, yes. It is.
And I love,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I love that she said this is something that only you can give them, because all of them are, all, like the staff and the NICU are giving them something, you know, or
Yeah.
breathing treatments, or, you know, that's the biggest one. And here's something that only you can give them. No one else can. And it's like such a contribution. And what a beautiful way to put that she did. So.
And you mentioned skin to skin. That was the most healing thing for me. So when I got to start holding them in kangaroo care, and then at that time there was a very big open NICU, so I sat between the twins and I was able to hold them skin to skin together. And then my husband would come and do it with one, and I'd do it with the other. And that's when I really started feeling like their mom. And that's like, I think it filled in a lot of the holes that I felt from my delivery. Like it really healed me. And so explaining to parents now how I'm not just talking about holding your baby wrapped up in a blanket. You know, this is very different. Clear your schedule, go to the bathroom, get it, you know,
Hours.
be ready to sit for a while. And it's just like, you know, kissing their head and feeling their chest and feeling them kind of like melt into me. I just like, I felt healed, honestly.
Oh my gosh. I'm like gonna cry every time you say anything. But I feel like that is, I had the exact same experience, and that's what I always tell people. Like I like, you don't wouldn't believe how many moms I meet in the NICU who I'll say, do you want me to set you up in skin to skin after we do their session? And they tell me I'm the first person that's set them up in skin to skin. And that just like, I'm not trying to be negative, but that breaks my heart that like more staff aren't trying to help and show how important this is for their bonding, for the mom, for everyone's nervous system. Like you said, like healing from any trauma that did occur. Like, I think if you ever have a NICU baby, like just advocate for yourself and say like, I want to do skin to skin. And even if they say no, push back, like unless it's really unsafe, but a lot of times you can do it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I think it's definitely extra work for the staff, but if, you know, if everyone understands the real physiologic and emotional for the mom benefits, then the connection between the mom and baby. I mean, the skin to skin research is so cool. Like that someone has told the mother your baby's cold and her temperature goes up to warm the baby. Like that undeniable connection between mother and child, and just like the way they're meant to be is like a kind of a unit. So that really helped me a lot. And the other thing was that stands out from those 6 weeks they were in the NICU. At one point, their weight really started lagging. So they kind of plateaued with their weight gain. And Paula encouraged me to start collecting hind milk. Now, I don't know if you guys have talked about hind milk ever.
No,
I don't think we've talked about it much, but I do talk about it with my clients sometimes. I'm curious to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, so I mean, it was something I did very temporarily just to help give them like a boost in their weight gain. And Paula made like a real simple growth chart and put it at the end of each of their isolettes. And it was just one extra step in pumping where I collected like the very last part of my pumping for their feeding, because really in the NICU, usually if you've established a milk supply, you've got more milk than the NICU baby is currently taking. But it comes out in layers. So it comes out very skim, low calorie, low fat, but then at the end, it's the opposite. So the very end of pumping is very high in fat and calories. And it's not something you'd want like a baby to have all the time or real long term, but I think I did it for like 7 or 10 days. And just to come in every day and see the growth chart going up, I felt like I'm really doing something to actively help them, you know, grow and get out of here.
That's beautiful. Yeah. One of the most, just like skin to skin and hind milk, but mostly skin to skin, one of the most powerful things I saw in the NICU was an SLP setting up a mom and a dad with skin to skin. And I feel like that was a really powerful way to incorporate the dad as well.
Yeah.
If you can, because they're like, I don't know what to do with these things.
Yeah.
And having them on, we put it in his t-shirt, and it's just so beautiful that, yeah, perhaps the nurses don't have the time or resources to promote this, but then therapists do. So yeah. It's beautiful.
That's huge.
Yeah, and so once they actually came home together at 6 weeks, which is really rare for twins.
You came together.
Yeah, they came home on the same day. And I was doing some very early attempts at breastfeeding in the NICU. And then once they came home, it was a lot. So they were 4 pounds each. They came home with NG tubes. They had medications like they give them caffeine now, but at the time it was like a different stimulant. I was pumping still. I had the feeding scale, so I was putting them both off and on before many feedings to see how much they were taking. And then I was giving the rest through the NG. And they had cardiac apnea monitors, they were just awful. They don't really send babies home on them too much anymore because they just false alarmed constantly. So within about a day, I realized I was going to shut those off and just stare at them my whole life. Yeah. So that was my plan.
Big job.
And then, yeah. And I was using nipple shields. So breastfeeding was not the most natural thing right then. It was very technical. There was a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. How was your mental health through this? Like, were you just so excited to have them home, or were you super overwhelmed?
I mean, I remember my husband and I sitting them like in a crib together and like just crying because we had made it through the NICU and they were home, and we were so grateful. And I think it's a tough time for a NICU mom to talk to other new moms because it's a very unrelatable experience to like a full-term healthy baby coming home. My husband and I were just so grateful that they got through with very few complications. So we never really complained about not sleeping or just the work of pumping and everything. And over the next few weeks, gradually, I was able to remove the tubes, and I got a huge nursing pillow. So once I was able to start breastfeeding them together, like it took a lot of hands and work to get a little 4-pound baby on the breast with the shield and everything. So it was a while. It was a few weeks before I really even attempted putting them on at the same time. But once I was able to get that and get rid of the shields, it was like a whole new life. It was great.
Oh my gosh. So then did you enjoy tandem feeding, or did you ever feel like overstimulated by it, or did it help you have more time because you could do them both at the same time?
I did. Actually, once I got breastfeeding down with them, it became the most the easiest part of taking care of twins because everyone's happy at once. It was kind of the cure for almost everything. They breastfed until they were 3. And I was pregnant, like I was about to have our next baby when they weaned. And it was jumping back a little bit. It was like a tough day to get rid of the shields. But once I got rid of that and gradually slowed down with the pumping, really, it was all the other stuff, like, how to carry them and groceries from the car to the house. Like all those things you have to figure out were way harder than sitting down and breastfeeding them. And they got real attached to like their own side. Like one had the left, one had the right, and then they would like kind of playfully try to steal each other's side. So and like my kids are all in their 20s now, so I have a million happy memories of motherhood. But something I'll always treasure is looking down and seeing those 4 eyes like locked on mine, nursing twins. Like it just didn't get any better than that. It was like the best.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I have a twin mom client coming up, and I'm gonna send her this episode. I'm so excited
Yeah.
to tell her, like, because so many people are just like, how am I gonna do it? You know, she's already had one singleton, so she's like, how am I gonna do this both? Am I gonna be overwhelmed doing both at the same time? Because some people want to do one then the other, but I can see how it would just be like you said, like they're both happy, they're both
Yeah.
good, and
Yeah.
like this is our home time.
Yeah. And I was like listening to something the other day, and it was talking about how like looking at your baby is the best thing that you can do during breastfeeding, especially for your milk supply, like, but just for the general attachment
Hmm.
piece. Okay, so with the twins and even with the kids in general, you talk about how they're in their 20s. Longitudinally, how have you seen the effects of attachment parenting?
Great question.
Yeah, so I would say that the foundation of trust, I really believed in that as a new mom, and I still believe it today, that I really think that just like Erickson's theory of, development, and how there has to be that stage of trust being developed. And I think it's not just like long-term breastfeeding and keeping them close to you, day and night. It's also just that they start to understand they can count on you, and that you're not going to let their cries go unanswered. I mean, it's their only form of communication to you. So I really believe that we have such independent kids today because they had that, and they knew that my husband and I were going to respond to them when they needed us the most.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
But I do want to talk about working with NICU moms, but I
Yes.
can't not mention my other three.
Yes,
Tell us about the rest of your kids, and then
Or
talk
I'll be
about.
in big trouble. I'll be in big
Yeah.
trouble. Yeah, so it was a very different experience, and I'm kind of happy, grateful that I had the twins first, because unlike your client, I did not know any different. Like it was my first experience, but then we had 3 full-term babies come every 2 years after that, and they came at 41 weeks, and I had an in-hospital delivery with each of them with a nurse midwife. And it was a very different experience having the babies naturally. I felt so much more control. I felt prepared. And especially after like the first time doing it, coming from a C-section, like having a VBAC, I just felt like I could conquer the world. Like it was the most powerful feeling. And I took the babies home, each of them within 24 hours of delivery. And I think that when I think back to having like the full-term babies, I really don't know how to soothe or put a baby to sleep without breastfeeding. Like
Right.
I think that whenever I hear like, how do I break this habit of like breastfeeding my baby to sleep, I would like completely flip that thinking, because
Yeah.
this is a huge benefit of breastfeeding,
So
that you're
good.
able to just, put them to sleep quickly. I really don't know how else to do it. So it's not something to be solved. It's something to be
Use
embraced
the
as
tool.
like a
Yeah.
benefit. Yeah. Yeah. And
That's
what a beautiful way to drift off to sleep, and knowing that, you're in the safest place in the world, in your mother's arms.
Mhm.
And then one of our full-term babies, our younger son, he started showing developmental problems at about a year old. And so he went through extensive developmental testing, like the multidisciplinary testing at hospitals. And throughout all that, our breastfeeding relationship was just like such an invaluable connection. So he was diagnosed with autism around age 2. And I
Mhm.
remember there were several times where the evaluators would say, we're not sure if this is what it is because he's so attached to you. And
Aw.
he'd go do a task or something, and then he'd come back and want to nurse for a minute. And then he'd go do something else and come back and want to nurse. And I think this level of maternal connection really threw them for a loop. And I love that we had that we threw them off. because it was just like it didn't fit with how the diagnosis is supposed to
Right.
go.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's super interesting. And we've also we've heard that before from another mom that like it's just so helpful when you are going through these like long days of testing and things to have that soothing
Yes.
mechanism. Like, do you feel like it helped you, if he had any challenges as a toddler with that diagnosis? Like, I don't know, was it an extra superpower even more?
Oh, for sure. It was. And it's like even now he's so smart and he has so many great skills. And it's sort of a running joke with all my kids. Like whenever there's something exceptional, I'm like, well, it's because you were breastfed for so long and it's the breast milk. And, and I'm only half joking. Like, I really do believe that it's helped all of my babies. And it's not just the obvious things like the immunity, but it's also, them being able to just make all kinds of strides in life. And, with the twins and their rough start, they easily could have had a lot more problems that I think even the milk in itself helped them overcome.
Mm-hmm.
But I started getting involved with the Leche League when I was pregnant with the twins. And then I started like answering calls and working toward being a leader. And that really helped ease me into the role of like lactation. So while I was home with the kids, that was something I could answer calls and not have to have all of the answers yet. And I still could like practice and start supporting other mothers without, being the expert.
Okay. And then
So,
what were you doing hours at that time to become an IBCLC? Or when did you decide I'm going to fully go for it?
Yeah, I did. I was getting hours and I started working toward it. I knew that when I went back to work, so I was home with the kids for like 12 years. And I knew when I went back to work that that's what I was going to want to do. And when our baby was in kindergarten, I reconnected with Paula Meyer and the team at Rush. And I had just been working I was an IBCLC in 07. So I started back with Paula and the team in 09. And, it's a big city, urban NICU, and there's very, very sick babies there and mothers, there. And as I also started like a small, just like my own independent private practice. So most of my lactation work has been working with this pump dependent population, meaning the pump is what's keeping lactation started and going. So yeah, I was able to learn a lot working alongside Paula, and she had a program where former Rush NICU mothers were employed as the lactation team to help the current Rush NICU mothers. So it was very just unique. And through everything, through autism and preemies, and it's been the other moms, the other parents that I've met that have taught me the most, given me the names for the best doctors. All the inside information that I've gotten has not been from physicians. It's been from other parents who've walked the same path that I'm walking. So I really do believe that, it's a very important piece in lactation, especially in the NICU.
Yeah, and making connections, finding people with the same diagnosis or situation, like you said. Like I completely agree, especially with like twins or anything that's unique when, like you said, you can't quite relate to the regular experience,
Right.
Then that can make you feel even more isolated. So I feel like if you find someone, like even one person that had the same thing, it helps you kind of get through it. Yeah.
And how awesome to employ NICU moms as just like, because you're going to have more buy-in into these things like kangaroo care and infant-led feeding.
I remember after before I moved here to Atlanta, I was like I wanted to do that job when I was like after I was going back to work from JOC. I was like, I don't want to just be a regular SLP anymore. Like I want to do lactation, and I wasn't an IBCLC yet, so I was thinking about doing something. I think I even reached out to you about it. And anyways, it's such a
Yes, yeah,
cool
yeah.
role, and to help NICU moms, like, yeah, I just feel like only someone who's gone through that can really help you sometimes in the way that you need to be talked to, you know?
Well, that's my favorite part at my job. So I've had a variety of different lactation roles in the NICU now over the last 16 years that I've been there. But there's something so special about, introducing yourself to a NICU mom and then saying, I also had my babies here and they stayed here 6 weeks. It's like they really want to talk to you then. And if you can pull up a chair and really make that connection, like NICU parent to NICU parent, it's rare in the hospital. Like it's very rare. So it's special and it's something I love doing. Oh, and I have to also mention one of our twins, so Emma, our girl, she has been at the Rush NICU as a NICU nurse now
No
for
way.
like 6 years.
That's awesome.
So she gets to tell the families, like, I was a baby here. And she was, the sicker of my twins. And yeah, it's
Amazing.
it's so cool to be able to tell people that. And it's
Oh my
like
God.
gives you a little hope too when you're like in that situation that things can change for the better.
Yeah, that's huge, especially because they were so young. And yeah, I say that too to moms in the NICU, and they'll be like, and just tell them that, my baby was in the NICU and he's fine now. He's like completely fine. And they just even hearing that, even though they don't know, they're just like, you can see the relief on their face,
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at the time it feels like you're very stuck there. Yeah. And helpless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I could run through a few things that I think are important for like
Please.
people working in the NICU with
Yes.
to know. Okay. So in the NICU and I'm mostly, the NICU that I come from is many of the babies are very low birth weight. So they're under 1,500 grams. It's not like some of the community hospital nurseries that might have a baby born a little bit early. Like most of the babies that I have been helping with lactation, the babies themselves are born very early, 3 months, can be 3 months early. So, a lot of what Paula has taught me, I'll have to share this podcast with her.
Yes.
It's all about her to me, but the dose and exposure. So what that means is like the bigger the dose of breast milk that the NICU baby gets over the longest period of time, like the exposure, is what matters the most for their outcomes. So we know that the babies in the NICU who have the biggest dose of breast milk, mother's own milk, over the biggest exposure do better. They do better. So they have, less complications, less incidence of neck, which is like the most deadly complication a preemie can get. So it's just widely known now. So there's nothing equivalent. And in fact, formula exposure early for a NICU baby can be really deadly.
Is there sorry to butt in, but have you seen any type of correlation between neck and formula feeding, or
yeah, there's
okay.
I mean that's proven, and there's a lot of research you can look at like through the NEC Society, but yeah, avoidance of formula, and especially in those early weeks, just mother's milk alone is the best thing that porous developing GI tract can have, because the babies are so vulnerable to any kind of pathogen or germ, and the breast milk is so protective. And the best way for the NICU baby to receive the breast milk is freshly pumped, never refrigerated, never frozen. So if you can get a NICU baby to have some freshly pumped milk every day, it's really, really good for them.
So that's another.
necrotizing enterocolitis.
Right.
Just for
right.
listener.
So the critical time frame in lactation for a NICU mom is really the first 2 weeks. So that's an intense time to really work with a NICU mother and make sure she gets off on the right foot. So if a NICU mom is making 500 milliliters or more by day 14, it's a very good indicator that she'll go home with her baby from the NICU with a breast milk supply. If she doesn't hit that marker, it's very unlikely that she'll go home with her milk. So when you think about all your lactation goals, you want to eventually breastfeed, like none of that matters if you haven't got a milk supply. So, and once that 14 days is up, it's like a window has closed, and it's very hard. Like if somebody comes, you know, to you as a lactation professional weeks later after a NICU stay, and they really haven't pumped that much, or they pumped on a very inefficient pump, you can't really get that time back, unfortunately. So for NICU, all pumps are not even close to equal. The ideal is to be on like a rental grade multi-user pump to get milk supply established. And then to start early, like there's something, I'm sure there's going to be more research about the earlier you start pumping, the better, because, you know, when you think about a full-term healthy baby in the delivery room, you know, they're put hopefully on the mother's chest to breastfeed within the first hour. For the NICU mom, mimicking that with a pump is seen to show like weeks later to help her milk supply. So the earlier a NICU mom can have help getting started pumping, even if it means, you know, she might need help holding the pump in place. She might need you to talk to her ahead of time and say, would it be okay if right after you deliver, I help you? And just like personalizing then her pumping with her. So if she's somebody who's going to go back to work fast because she wants to save some leave for when the baby goes home, trying to help personalize her pumping so that there's times in her day where maybe she can go longer stretches, and then times where she could maybe put her pumpings a little closer together.
That's a good
And
point.
the other thing with breastfeeding a preemie, so like a lot of times, you know, you want, as a NICU mom who wants to breastfeed, you're anxious for that time for the baby to come to the breast. But breastfeeding at 32, 33 weeks, you just have to always keep in mind the baby's development. So it's not laziness. It's not a matter of needing practice. It's not a matter of the baby not trying. It's that they're truly not developed to the point where they're even supposed to be born, much less control, suck, swallow, breathe in an effective, efficient way. So I do hear that a lot, that like, I'm going to try to put the baby, you know, even 35, 36 week, I'm going to put them to the breast every time, and then I'll pump. And it's just kind of a futile effort. I think a couple times a day is probably good. And it's good for the mother, because when she pumps, she'll notice she gets more milk after the baby's been there, because no pump can, you know, mimic the baby at the breast. But as far as like surging hormones, yeah. But it's really the pumping for the NICU mom that's keeping lactation going. You can't just abandon pumping when you're going home, because the baby will not be able to like control lactation yet.
Yeah, this is all so good, just to like zoom out and give people this picture of what it's like. Because I do feel like a lot of people say, oh, I want to breastfeed, but they don't really understand, like, okay, this is what it's going to take if your baby isn't quite able to do their part of it yet. And I remember the first lactation consultant I saw in the NICU said that to me. She was just like, look, you're going to have to bring in your milk supply with a pump. He's going to have to grow and get bigger with the tube and with bottles, and then we will make it match up. But if you don't do that job, it's exactly like you said, then you won't have the milk to make it match up.
Right.
when they are developmentally ready, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming when most NICU moms have had a C-section. Many are way, way sicker than I even was. And it's a lot. You're giving them a ton of information. You're asking a lot of them by saying pump, 6, 8 more times a day. So it is overwhelming. And yet there's so much that has to be told so early because you want to make sure each mother is making a very informed choice about providing her breast milk to her baby. You don't want somebody, in a couple weeks to say, I wish someone had told me how important this is, because then you really can't establish a supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you help moms, like, right, moms that have had C-sections and are now in the NICU and they're like just went through kind of a trauma. So it's like they're kind of checked out. I mean, in terms of receiving information, is there a way that you share with them like the importance of breastfeeding while still acknowledging that, they went through this and maybe they're not capable of processing that right now?
It's a balancing act. It's a tough skill to develop. I think it takes a lot of going in and out of NICU rooms to know, okay, this is a mother that I'm just going to go with the basics and I'll follow up tomorrow with the details, or this is a mother who's just like wants all the information. She wants me to stay. So it's a skill. And I think getting a mom pumping, and then you can always figure out the rest later. You can make a note as to what to go over tomorrow. You can ask a family member if they can keep the pump parts clean and ready for a day or two till she can hear about all that. So it's a lot of prioritization of what's important giving it at the right time.
That is so true. And that's why so much of our job is like counseling, and like we have this information to share, but it's all about like how you share it with the mom at the time that they're ready to hear it. Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many moms have just like, even down the road, kind of dissolved into tears just when I say, like, you're doing such a great job. You're doing amazing. You're working so hard. And like, we can't forget to like give that kind of feedback too, because this could be for many of our population the most stressful, worrisome days of their lives. So, just hearing that you're on the right track, you're doing really good. And that means a lot too. Yeah.
Well, that helps us flow into the question we ask all of our guests is, what would you tell a new mom if you had to choose like one piece of advice who is struggling with feeding? And it can be NICU or not.
Okay. I would say, just thinking back to like mothering all 5 of my kids, I would keep in mind that everything, good or bad, is a phase. So don't dwell on it too long, because by the time you have it all figured out, they're going to have moved on to some other concern of yours. So, even, and it's true for the great things too. If you love their little, hugs and the toddler years, it's like it comes and goes. So it's everything tough that you're going through, every problem has a solution. Try to do what works best for your family. Try to do what gets you the most sleep. Try to let, if you have to let something go, let your house go, not your kids. These are, yeah.
You should be friends with my parents. I feel like that advice about everything lasts 2 weeks. Everything is a phase. That's what they always say. Like,
but
always.
I just would say be excited about breastfeeding and be like excited about every stage of parenthood, because we've just loved every stage. And, it's not that I don't want to make it sound like it's all rosy. There's definitely tough times and tough years. And I think like some of the stages we thought would be hardest really weren't. So we've really been loving parenting young adults. It's been unexpectedly wonderful. Like all of our kids came over last night. Now we can go like to restaurants with them. We went on a brewery tour for our youngest 21st birthday. So I think the attachment parenting has paid off in that they still want to hang around us. And we're just loving it. We're loving this stage of life. So
That's so good.
Wow. That's awesome. Super.
Just love to hear your career journey and motherhood journey and how it's all like intertwined. And I just know you're such a big help to all of your clients.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit like about your practice if you want to, and where people can find you.
Yeah, so I have an Instagram page called Special Care Lactation. I'm fairly new to professional side of Instagram. And I mean, people can email me at lactationkatie@gmail. But I do some local home visits. I've been doing some telehealth visits, and then I'm still working part-time in the NICU at Rush too. So it's a nice balance. Our son, who has the special needs, he's aged out of all of his programming, so I'm home with him a lot. So I was telling Abby, I feel a little bit like a stay-at-home mom again, which I love. And we're just trying to figure out, keeping him busy. And so I fit my work into life with him, which is great.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing some of your time with us today. This has been such a great episode.
My pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for doing this. I love your podcast.
Oh, good.
Oh, it's so moving. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We're so happy you joined us for this episode of the Feeding Hour. If you are enjoying the podcast, please leave us a review or send it to a friend. It helps these feeding stories go out to the public and to new moms that might feel alone. If you have any feedback for us on how we can improve or would like to share your story, please email us at thefeedinghourpodcast@gmail.com. Also, if this podcast has helped you and you're in a position to give back, you can now support us on Patreon to help keep the Feeding Hour alive. Just $5 a month would really help us to keep it going. The link is in the show notes, and we would so appreciate it. Until next time, happy feeding.